to Writers Workshop Wednesdays. I'm so sorry that I missed last week's episode. I was not able to upload in time for 8 a.m. on Wednesday last week. I hope this makes up for it. It's going to be a really good one today. We're going to get a little more serious than just reading and writing every day today. So you want to start writing your novel, but you don't know how, you don't know where to begin. You've been practicing writing all this time, you've been, doing writing prompts and challenges and whatnot, but you do not know where to start. You've come to the right place. Today, I'm going to teach you guys how I start to write my novels and my story outlines. So I'm going to show you an example of a board that I have. This is a fairly small one. And I have a few of these in different sizes. I use the boards for brainstorming purposes and for outlining, and even for dividing up my chapters sometimes, depending on how far along I am in the book or the story. And I use it at different stages in different formats. Today I'm going to talk about using these. Well, actually, you don't have to use these boards. It would be helpful to actually get one of the bigger boards. The one that I have is just sort of a rough outline of themes and genres and all of that. But if you get a slightly bigger one, I'm going to leave a link below in the description so you guys can actually get one of the other boards that I do have, the bigger ones, white boards or dry erase boards, and use that for your outlining and for brainstorming and all that stuff. This one is fairly small. You can also use the small ones if that's good enough for you. I find that there's not enough space if I'm rushing through something, and if I just want to jot down something really, plain and small and simple, then I use this one. And I really only used this one today to show you guys because my recording area is quite small and I didn't want to take up a whole lot of space just for the board. So like I said, there's going to be a couple of links below. There are a couple of links below in the description where you can find the boards, the bigger ones, and you can buy them online. So to start the outline of your book, there's 3 things you need to know. You have to figure these out before you start to write anything. You can have an idea in your head already, like I did with my first novel. I had the entire idea pretty much in my head before I even started to write it. But for all this third and fourth pieces of writing that I started to do, I actually had to kind of sit down and organize my thoughts. And the first thing that I always get together is the 3 first things actually are the genre, the subgenre, and the setting. So let's start with the genres. I say genre and subgenre because you can't just have one. I mean, you could have just one. You can just have one genre that the story of the novel will fall into. However, it'll be flat. It'll be very flat and unmoving, possibly even anticlimactic if there aren't some more themes and genres kind of woven into it and emerged in it in different areas of the book. I would say have a few here and there that come in, but when you start, just have the 2. Because if you have 5 different genres and 5 different themes that you want to work with, and that's what you're starting with to begin organizing your plot, you're going to get overwhelmed and you're going to get confused. So to begin with, to start, just have the genre and the subgenre. Don't get into the chaos of 3 or more at the very beginning. You can bring in a third one as your story develops, and that's a different point. I'll probably do a video on that as well, but for now, just start with the 2 and go from there. Down below, I have another link to a document on genres and descriptions of the genres. So if you guys want to print that out and take a look at it so you know exactly what your genre represents, what sort of an idea it will bring to the novel, you can do that. And the second thing, or the third thing, since it's genre and subgenre, the third thing that you need to begin your novel is your setting. You need to know the place, whether realistic or created, and time or era of your story. Now, with either of these, and especially the place, the possibilities are infinite. Infinite. It could be Earth, it could be outer space, it could be underwater kingdom, it could be another galaxy, another dimension, an entirely different created fictional world of talking plants and moving air bubbles. I don't know. Whatever you want. You can really go crazy with your imagination in this, or you could really buckle in and restrict yourself and uh, choose a confined, very particular setting as well. Um, but the possibilities, again, like I said, are infinite. You can just about create any type of place you want. Of course, if it's like a fantasy or sci-fi novel, it's a lot more, you get a lot more leeway and freedom with the creativity versus something like a historical fiction. You'll need to know more about the place that you're writing about during the time or the era that you plan on writing about. And speaking of time and era, you go on to the second part of settings, which is time and era. And the possibilities are also infinite in this. However, for some specific genres, you have to do your research um, because it's a little harder to mix fantasy and historical fiction together. Um, there are some stories that have done this, and one of them, and I'm gonna talk about the TV show instead of the novels because I read the novels and I much prefer the TV show writing for this one, um, I guess, book or series of books. Um, Not to say that I actually always like the TV shows. I usually, usually the books are far superior to whatever comes out on, TV or in movies or whatnot. But this particular one, The Vampire Diaries, don't laugh at me. I did watch The Vampire Diaries. The writing for the TV show, I guess it was also for a more mature audience than the book originally was for, so the writing was very different from, and the storyline itself was very different from the original books. However, they made an incredible, phenomenal job of mixing historical fiction and I guess a type of mystical fantasy or um, you know, created idea like the vampires and all of that in with the historical fiction. And although it wasn't embedded in an actual true story, there was a lot of real events or real ideas that were infused in it, like, the Salem witch trials were mentioned in it in 1864. The time was around, they talk a lot about the Confederate soldiers and the Confederacy and all of that, and it was set in the South, so they've done their research before they did the show because their writing captured a lot of um, details that otherwise it wouldn't have made the show as great. So you'd have to do your research about the time period and the era. For instance, the Titanic, you know, it was set in a certain time when it left. The clothing, the culture, the language, English alone has changed drastically since the Victorian era, which was just a little over 100 years ago. So you really have to do your research in setting and especially for the time period. So this is a very short video, I know. However, I do always leave you guys with some homework to do or, documents that you can use to better your writing. And as I always do that, I have left one more document in the links in this description below where there's a link. You can click it and you can open it and see I have the outline that I use for figuring out my settings, and my genres and subgenres are all attached on the bottom. So make sure you use it. Take advantage of it because I almost never share any of this with anybody else, but I want you guys to get this because I went through, I think, about 3 to 4 years of a rough time not knowing what I needed to do in which order. And when it came to publishing and then marketing and selling my books, it got really hard until I finally learned about it, figured it out, and got the right people and companies and all of that involved. So I'm going to tell you all about it, but I'm going to start from the very beginning. So if you're just starting out writing, you know exactly what to do to start your journey. Okay, so make sure you use it. Click on the link, download the document, choose your genres, choose your subgenres, choose your setting, brainstorm, and then keep writing. Make sure you keep doing the prompts from the video from the last one that I didn't. I can't say last week, it was the week before because I didn't post one on last week. So make sure you do those prompts as well. I know it hasn't been 31 days yet, so it wouldn't have been finished. And we will come back next Wednesday and talk about brainstorming and the ideas and the areas of a book or a novel that require brainstorming. So, thank you for watching, you guys. I hope this video really helped you, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below if you have anything to say, and share the video with anybody that you think is going to benefit from this